He's orange, he's fat, he hates Mondays but loves lasagna, and loathes the dog that he has to live with. You know him well as Garfield. Created by Jim Davis and first debuted on June 19, 1978. Garfield is a weekly newspaper comic strip following the titular feline, a lazy cat owned by John Arbuckle and his dog Odie. Garfield is now one of the most widely syndicated strips, and his success has resulted in multiple TV shows, movies, video games, merchandise, and even a real-life restaurant called Garfield Eats. But not everything that spawned from the success of Garfield is as lighthearted as the comic strips he originated from. For some strange reason in recent years, there's been an influx of Garfield-inspired horror. It's hard to really say why so many people are obsessed with the idea of turning Garfield into an inspiration for spooky content. Perhaps it's just the nature of the internet, like how anything can become a meme or victim to Rule 34. Maybe there's an appeal of turning something that's associated with general audiences to a horrifying nightmare. A yin and yang situation, if you will. No matter the reasoning, I think it's time we look into the weird world of Garfield horror. Zalgo. The Zalgo creepypasta takes on two forms. One is an interdimensional monster similar to that of Cthulhu that has 7 mouths, a dead star that is held in his right hand, and in his left is a candle that's light is shadow. Once his 7 mouths that all speak in different tongues sing the same song, then Zalgo will awaken and end the world as we know it. But the original version that first debuted on the Something Awful forums on July 27, 2004 from user Goonshmorky is where one edits a single image, typically a comic strip, and alters it to become a shadow of its former self. These edited comics feature foul language, tentacles, gore, shadows, and characters transforming into horrifying monsters as they praise Zalgo. Garfield is one of, if not the most, edited comic strips to feature the creepypasta. Just looking up Garfield Zalgo on Google's search bar shows dozens of edited comic strips showing Garfield, John, Odie, shapeshifting into Lovecraftian beasts for their new god Zalgo. Lasagna Cat. A satirical approach to Jim Davis's work, Lasagna Cat is a web series that was created by Fatal Farms and first debuted on January 14, 2008. It recreates multiple Garfield comic strips on live action, as an attempt to show the audience that the comic strips might not be as funny as they would think. Some would argue that the strips themselves would be much funnier if they were animated or delivered in a direct manner, but Lasagna Cat was made to show that that might not be the case. Much like many family comedy sitcoms of the 90s, the series also has a laugh track. Laugh tracks are typically used to tell the audience when a joke was told or when to laugh, much like when something sad happens in a movie and a depressing song is played in the background. The audio is telling you how to feel.
Permission to whine?
Permission denied. Get back in line, soldier.
Yes, your spotlessness.
After the recreation ended, they would show the strip that was being remade, and after that, they would follow with a strange parody of the strip. The title of the said episode is even the date at which the original comic strip was released, but after 04/08/1990, or April 8th, 1990, the series disappeared for about 9 years. Lasagna Cat would eventually return on February 6, 2007, and on February 9th, 2007, Lasagna Cat uploaded the video 1-800-591-3274. An extremely exaggerated movie trailer would play, encouraging the audience to call the number, say their name, and their number of sexual partners. A few more episodes were made with higher quality, but it would all end on February 23rd, 2017, with the episode Sex Survey Results. Garfield, John, and Odie would answer the door. Behind would be a mannequin who would play the message given by the audience for 4.5 hours. On 4/33/46, it ends with an almost 10-minute long short film. I don't want to spoil what happens, as I feel as if I've said enough already. You can go ahead and check it out for yourself, or alternatively, you can go watch Nightmind or Inside a Mind's videos on the subject for more of an in-depth look on the series. The Garfield Theory. Nearly every piece of fictional media has a sick and twisted theory about it. Johnny Bravo isn't actually handsome, he's ugly and only sees himself as good looking. The kids next door aren't actually an organization of kids fighting adults, but they're just kids playing a game. There is no land of Ooh, Finn's just in a coma. Ash never went on his Pokemon adventure, he's just in a coma. Most of that 70s show didn't happen, Eric was just in a coma. Okay, yeah, a lot of the theories had something to do with comas. Some can be interesting, as others were just, how can we make this real? Because fictional media obviously can't just be fictional. There are interesting theories like how the Mystery Incorporated gang are all draft dodgers, while others aren't, like how the main cast of SpongeBob are based on the 7 deadly sins. And of course, Garfield has his own theory. This theory states that everything in Garfield's life was never real, and is all just a figment of his imagination. On October 26, 1989, a rather strange Garfield strip was released to the public. Garfield wakes up shivering, and starts wandering around trying to figure out his destination. He looks out of the window to find out he's inside an abandoned, boarded-up version of John's house. Garfield panics only to return to his home with John asking if he wants breakfast. This started theories that Garfield is just a lost cat, starving without a home as he hallucinates his entire life. The strip ends with a quote from Jim Davis that only adds fuel to the fire. It reads, and I quote, "An imagination is a powerful tool. It can tint memories of the past, shade perceptions of the present, paint a future so vivid it can entice or terrify, all depending on how we conduct ourselves today." Gorefield. Gorefield, also known as Creepy Garfield, or I'm Sorry John, debuted on October 22, 2013. An artist by the name of Double Baby posted a strange webcomic featuring John exploring his house, now covered in strange patterns similar to his cat. Well, it turns out to be his cat, as he sees Garfield's head on the wall as he exclaims, "I'm sorry, John. I was so hungry." In 2018, Gorefield officially became an SCP, more specifically SCP-3166. That same year, another comic posted on Reddit by MNVZ, featuring not Garfield, but Garfield, with a melted face demanding to be fed. The most famous interpretation of Gorefield came from the artist William Burke on Instagram, who drew his own version of the monster that has taken several different forms. This version is able to shapeshift into equally as terrifying versions of Jim Davis's famous feline. Near the end of 2018, YouTuber and pixel artist Lumpy Touch made a short web series about William's interpretation of Gorefield, featuring John in a Game Boy survival horror-esque situation. Lumpy Touch is still using Gorefield for other projects, with his most recent being Gorefield Horoscopes, with a complete collection uploaded on March 23, 2020. Gorefield is probably one of, if not the most popular disturbing media version of Garfield. With the shapeshifting aspects that William Burke made, and the reach that Lumpy Touch gave him, others can now experiment and make Gorefield more powerful by giving him even more forms to take. Washed up phones. Unlike everything else on this list, this story is something that actually happened in the real world. Not a story, fan fiction, or theory. This is an event that transpired in our plane of existence, and for a long time at that. One of the most popular Garfield-related items to collect are Garfield phones. These phones would be in the shape of the titular cat, as the phone piece would be sticking out of his back, and the eyelids would open depending on whether or not the phone was in use. They were extremely popular during the 1980s and are still highly demanded collector's items, and it seems that their reach was a lot less controllable than any of us would anticipate. During the same time period, pieces of Garfield phones began to wash up on, oh geez, I highly apologize if I mispronounce this, Iroy, Coast, and Brittany. My apologies, I'm an ignorant American, I'm too stupid to pronunciate. This isn't a one-time thing, it's still going on to this day. In fact, the beach is famous for the strange story, and for the longest time, no one knew where these phones came from. Until March of 2019, that is. It was discovered that a shipping container holding the phones fell into a sea cave many years ago. This was one of the most popular theories for a long time, but it was never confirmed as they couldn't find the shipping container until 2019. Unfortunately, due to the position of the said shipping container, it remains inaccessible to remove it from its destination. There it remains until time eats away the titular cat.